I think this
Okay.
is the first time this
It's
has actually happened,
that's
isn't
the
it?
that's the first time it's happened. We knew it was going to happen one time. It took till what 38 episodes or so.
All right, Matt, sorry I'm late. I just got back from the Jewel Osco picking up 4 more packs of trading cards. But before we get into those, you have a massive apology you need to issue from last episode. Go ahead, hit us with it. Restore our credibility.
Yeah, during the last pack opening episode, I said Saint Olaf Ols. It's the Saint Olaf Oles, and I regret that error. Unfortunately, I mispronounced their nickname.
Our apologies to the St. Olaf community, everyone associated with them. We will attempt to do better in the future. All right, so Matt, let's get into pack number 8 here in part 3 of our pack opening videos. For those of us, for our friends who are listening on Spotify, this is one you maybe want to head to YouTube so you can see the cards in action. But here we go, we'll go through it. Starting with pack 8, starts with the North Park Vikings.
Yeah, North Park was our CCIW tournament champion last year. They ended up getting to the Sweet 16. To get there, though, they had to beat Elmhurst in the CCIW final at Wheaton.
Another tournament participant from last year, the Chatham Cougars.
Yeah, really nice season for Chatham. 17 and 12 overall. They won the pack tournament, but they ended up being fodder for St. Joseph, Connecticut in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's a tough draw. All right, our first insert here in Pack 8, we have the Content Kings mini set here featuring the Max Live broadcast, one of the
Yeah.
preeminent Division III basketball live streams you can find out there.
Yeah, definitely one of the best streams out there. Their quality is second to none. High resolution, high frame rate, multiple camera angles, a two-person booth. I think most games, sideline reporters. Sometimes they're even broadcasting away games, I believe. Just hard to get better than Max Live out there. They do a great job. Happy to feature them in a Content Kings card here.
Love a good frame rate. All right, next up, back to the team base set, we have the Franklin Grizzlies.
Yeah, Franklin, out of Franklin, Indiana, in the HCAC conference. To me, they're the definition of the middle of the road team in Division Three last year. 13 and 13 overall, 9 and 9 in conference, and that was Franklin.
Heading to the SLIAC, we have the Webster Gorlocks. Matt, have you ever had a nightmare featuring a Gorlock?
I haven't. I don't even really know what it is. I think it's kind of like a monster thing, kind of like almost like a Muppet. I don't really know.
I think that's how people describe you as well.
I'm more like a Muppet than the Gorlocks are, though.
All right, here's the other insert card in this pack, going to the random Twitter people set that was unveiled in our last video. This one featuring Bob Quillman at IWHoopsCom.
Yeah, to me, the definition of a random Twitter person, he's a guy that created a Twitter account, thinks he knows everything about Division Three basketball. But seriously, it's hard to throw a rock at the D3 Hoops hashtag and not hit Bob Quillman. He's a great Division Three fan, obviously an Illinois Wesleyan fan for anyone who follows him. But he really champions the game across the country. Now he lives in Texas. He goes to a bunch of games down there. He flies around the country to games on his own dime to watch and tweet about Division Three basketball. So great work, a great follow, and now a great friend of ours, friend of the show, Bob Quillman. So happy to feature him as perhaps the king of random Twitter people on this card.
Returning to the base set here, a team we're very familiar with as an MIAA foe for our Calvin University Knights, the Trine Thunder.
Yeah, Trine Thunder, Angola, Indiana. They're the only men's basketball program in the MIAA that's not from the state of Michigan. The women's has another one with St. Mary's, but two Indiana schools, only one for the men there out of the MIAA.
Next up, we have a team, Matt, we're going to see at the GLI next season, the La Roche Redhawks.
Yeah, looking forward to see La Roche in person. Last year, they were AMCC champs, got into the first round of the NCAA tournament. Unfortunately, they had to play at host Stockton and lost that game. Tough draw there for La Roche.
And this is not just Johnson, it's not just Wales, it's Johnson and Wales, the Wildcats.
Yeah, never play against two teams at once. That's what you get when you play against Johnson and Wales. They're out in Providence, Rhode Island in the GNAC. This upcoming season will be their last in the GNAC before they look to move to the Commonwealth Coast Conference.
What do you think of Wisconsin in Division III? You usually think of the WIAC, but there's a number of really great programs throughout the state. One of those that is not in the WIAC, the Lawrence Vikings.
Yeah, Lawrence is in the Midwest Conference in Appleton, Wisconsin. And to me, they're kind of a one-time power, maybe. They had some really nice seasons in the region, but it's been almost a decade now since their last winning season.
Going to the Northwest Conference, we have the Pacific Boxers.
Yeah, Pacific out in Forest Grove, Oregon, in that Northwest Conference. We've talked before about the difficulty in finding Division III non-conference games for some of these schools. Last year for Pacific, I think 5 of their 9 non-conference games were against non-Division III opponents, so kind of tough to get games up there.
Finishing off this pack, we have the Oglethorpe Stormy Petrels.
Yeah, Oglethorpe really used to having winning seasons out there in Atlanta, Georgia. Last year was a step back for them, though. Finished 10 and 16, and really only the first 1 or 2 times this last decade that they have not finished above 500. That's the
All
pack.
right, let's get into pack 9.
Yeah, let's rip
That's
it.
the pack. Pack 9 leads off with the Willamette Bearcats.
Willamette also up in the Northwest Conference. They're in Salem, Oregon. That's the capital of Oregon. Like we said, not a lot of Division III teams up there in the Northwest, but Willamette is another one.
Now we see our first insert set in this pack. We have the Unsung Heroes set featuring Jeff Phoebus, the sports information coordinator at our very own Kelvin University.
Yeah, Jeff Phoebus does a lot of work out there at Calvin. Calvin is a great sports Division III institution. They keep adding sports. They're going to be coming out with varsity football here in the near future. So I just can't imagine everything it takes to kind of run that sort of sports information, sports communication office. Jeff does great work. He's done great work there for decades. I think you can even still find YouTube videos of him as a student kind of calling games at Calvin during that like 1992 era championship run. And now he's has continued on that as a career at Calvin. Great work. We could not be fans of Calvin or Division III without Jeff Phoebus. So I think from both of us, a personal thank you to Jeff for all the work he's done to support the Calvin community, Calvin fans like us over the years.
For sure. All right, back to a team base card. We have a automatic qualifier out of the HCAC last season, the Anderson Ravens.
Yeah, Anderson out of Anderson, Indiana, makes it easy. Like you said, they were the Pool C or the Pool A, the champion of the HCAC. They won that tournament final over Rose-Hulman.
Yep, and now another auto qualifier, the Marymount Saints.
Really nice season for Marymount last year in the AEC. They finished 10 and 2 in conference and won that championship. Got into the Pool A bid to the NCAA tournament.
Our next card is the Stevenson Mustangs.
Yeah, Stevenson out of the MAC Commonwealth, the Commonwealth side of the MAC conference in Stevenson, Maryland, and I think that's kind of like the north side of Baltimore.
The Hobart Statesmen.
Hobart in the Liberty League in Geneva, New York, and they were really in the mix on top of that in the top of that league all of last season. Unfortunately, they lost a close game in the Liberty League semifinals to end their season.
Now we're flying over all of D3 land to Southern California for the Claremont Mud Scripts Stags.
Yeah, the Stags in the SCIAC, the Southern California Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. They're in Claremont, California, which I think is like that Pasadena kind of area. They're part of that kind of 5-school campus consortium there with Pomona, Pitzer, Claremont, Mudd College. I forget all the names. Scripps College. Great college.
Okay, Matt, we're racking up the frequent flyer miles, heading all the way back across the country to New York City for the Baruch Bearcats.
Yeah, Baruch was the champion in the Cognac last year, the City University of New York Athletic Conference. So great season out of Baruch, got into the NCAA tournament. I believe their campus is in Manhattan, New York City, for sure.
Continuing with the team base set, the Moravian Greyhounds.
Yeah, Moravian in the Landmark Conference. Landmark has a lot of like Pennsylvania schools. Moravian finds themselves in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Down to Texas for the Laterno Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, Laterno in the ASC, American Southwest Conference. That conference is going to be going through a lot of membership changes in the future years. I believe that Laterno is one of those that's slated to stay in the ASC.
And speaking of the ASC, our next up in the D3 Threads mini set here, we're turning back the clock to December 10th, 2016, when Cliff Carroll, then head coach at Sul Ross State, put on the Santa suit. And Matt, we've acquired a little piece of that here for this special relic set. Piece of the Santa suit. So thanks to Cliff for donating
Yeah.
that. I hope he didn't have a hole the next time he wore the Santa suit. He did wear that at Mary Hardin Baylor as well. But here we're turning back to the clock to I think the first time he did it at Sul Ross State in 2016.
Yeah, very nice velvety material there. Thanks to Cliff for sending us a sample. If he does choose to wear it again, you'll probably see like a little kind of square circular cutout there where he gave us the fabric. Hopefully he took it from an inconspicuous spot because you'd hate for it to be like a big hole in the seat of his pants or something like that.
Very true. All right, back to the team base set. We have the SUNY New Paltz Hawks.
Yeah, SUNY New Paltz in that SUNYAC conference, the State University of New York Athletic Conference. They're in New Paltz, New York, and they are the last card we have in this pack.
Which means we're halfway home here for what we have to open today. Getting into Pack 10 is going to lead off with the Brandeis Judges out of the UAA.
Brandeis, yeah, by the efficiency metrics, they were the second bottom team in the UAA last year, but that conference was so good, that's 83rd nationally. So they were still a top 100 team, even though they were near the bottom of that conference.
And speaking of power conferences, the NESCAC Wesleyan Cardinals.
Yeah, Wesleyan out of Middletown, Connecticut. For them, it was really a tale of two seasons last year. They started the season 2-5, but then they finished 14-4 and kind of made some fringe tournament noise last year. Ultimately, did not get in.
All right, another one from the Content King set here, Matt. This one featuring Riley Zayas. Does a great job covering Mary Hardin Baylor for True to the Crew. And also you can find his work on d3hoops.com, covering women's basketball. And, we've gotten a chance to get to know Riley a little bit at the men's Final Four the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, we had a hard time deciding what to put on his card here because he writes in so many different places. Like you said, d3hoops.com, True to the Crew. I think he has a Substack you could subscribe to. He's done YouTube videos with Scott Peterson called Dishing on D3 Women's Basketball, where they've talked about some of the regional rankings, Pool C selections, things like that. He's got, of course, his Twitter account. He's been a frequent guest on Hoopsville. So Riley is all over the basketball scene, covering men's basketball and heavily covers women's basketball as well.
All right, back to the team base set with the Clarkson Golden Knights.
Yeah, Clarkson in the Liberty League. We talked about the Liberty League. That was a really kind of a sneaky good league last year, I think, to me. And they are out of Potsdam, New York.
All right, over to Wisconsin and into the WIAC this time with UW River Falls, the Falcons.
UW River Falls in River Falls, Wisconsin. I sometimes have trouble with my WIAC geography, so I was looking this up. UW River Falls is really towards the border of Minnesota. It's essentially in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, the Minnesota-St. Paul metro area. River Falls is only like a 30-minute drive from Minneapolis.
Back to California for Caltech. Go Beavers!
Yeah, the Beavers, we had a Doc Esslinger card a couple of packs ago, a couple of episodes ago. He was on the national committee, and he's the head coach of the Caltech Beavers.
And speaking of that national committee set, here we have another one. This one featuring Rick Ferry. He was one of the vice chairs last year, and he has concluded his time on the national committee. And actually, we're looking forward to gaining some insight from him because he's going to be part of a group that Bob Quillman is going to be having on the QCast, which should be very interesting to follow next year as we get some inside look from the outside on what the national committee may be doing and thinking along the way.
Yeah, Rick must have been one of the busiest people in Division III basketball last year. He was on the committee. He was serving in that vice chair role on the committee. He's the head coach of the Albright men's basketball team, and he also serves as a co-athletic director there. So plenty on his plate. Last year, I'm sure he'll be happy to give up some of those responsibilities in his time concluding on the national committee, but he's going to fill that up with the announced QCast podcast sub-series of In the Room, where we get that inside look, as you were saying, Zach.
Will be great to have Rick joining the peanut gallery with us.
Yeah.
All right. Team base card here, Bridgewater State Bears.
Yeah, Bridgewater State from part of the MASCAC. I always have a slight pause where I decide if I confused Bridgewater State with Bridgewater, Virginia, and I did not. They are in the MASCAC, which is correct. So before I misspeak again, let's move forward.
All right, the next one is the Texas Lutheran Bulldogs.
Yeah, Texas Lutheran Bulldogs, excuse me as my voice cracks, is in the SCAC, the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference. and they're in Seguin, Texas. Not sure of
Oh,
that city.
I'm gonna have to issue another apology
I
at the
know.
top of
We're gonna
next episode.
apologize again.
All right, moving on. The Misericordia Cougars.
Yeah, they're in Dallas, Pennsylvania. We have UT Dallas and University of Dallas. Well, we also have Misericordia. Unfortunately, this is Dallas, Pennsylvania. I think that's like in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre region of kind of northeastern Pennsylvania.
Next up, the St. Lawrence Saints.
Yeah, they were the Pool A representative out of the Liberty League. OT win in the semifinals, OT win in the finals to get in. So a heck of a tournament run there for St. Lawrence.
And finishing up Pac-10, we have the Clark Cougars.
Yeah, Clark out of the NUMAC conference, and they're like in the Worcester, Mass area. I think maybe actually specifically in Worcester, Mass. And that concludes the pack.
So we have one more pack for today, pack 11 overall. We're going to get started with one of the provisional teams, the Asbury Eagles. They have one more year of provisional status, so games against them this next season will count towards team's resume for the tournament. However, they have one more year of waiting before they themselves will be tournament eligible.
Yeah, they're currently an independent looking to join a conference. Zach, I would not be surprised if they join a conference soon, as they're kind of exiting this provisional stage and into a kind of full membership after one more year. Wouldn't even be surprised if they join a conference between the recording of this episode and when this is released. Don't have any inside information there, but as we await the provisional committees, the membership committee's report from their meeting last month, we expect promotion to year 3 for Asbury. Being on the cusp of full membership, they would be kind of maybe more attractive to a conference, I think.
All right, another one here from the National Committee mini set. The other vice chair, Luke Flakurtzy, who
Yeah,
will be the chair this next season.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's going to be taking over the chairmanship role in the national committee. So looking forward to seeing Luke's leadership. We've had several good committee chairs in a row, and I expect to have another great one in Luke Flakurtzy here this next year.
Also does a great job as the University of Rochester head coach. All right, to the ODAC, we have the Washington and Lee Generals.
Yeah, they had a heck of an end of the season in the ODAC tournament against Roanoke. Zach, do you remember that game? 4 overtimes. Unfortunately, Washington and Lee, unfortunately, they could not overcome Roanoke in that one. But that was just a tremendous game to follow from the outside. I was watching that game, checking in on it. Could not believe it kept going, but they just fell just short in that game.
I have a feeling that game may pop up again here, Matt, in our major moments set. Although, we'll have to see. Also, Washington and Lee celebrating 2 generals there. Although I don't know if you really want to go with the 500 winning percentage, but such as it is. All right, back to random Twitter people. Now, Matt, I think this is as random as it gets. It's you at FFTMag.
It is super random. I am just a random Twitter person that started tweeting about Division III basketball one day, and now I have my own show that a couple people watch, but
That you forced me to be part of.
yeah. Anyway,
Moving on. All right, we have the Lehman Lightning back in the team base set.
Yeah, Bronx, New York, Lehman Lightning, also in the Cognac Conference. We had Baruch from the Cognac earlier. They're also in that City University of New York Athletic Conference, one of the city schools in New York City.
All right, Matt, we saw the Webster Gorlocks earlier out of the SLIAC. Here we have the SLIAC tournament champions and NCAA participant, the Fontbonne Griffins.
Yep, as you said, they won that Pool A out of the SLIAC. Fontbonne is from St. Louis, Missouri, and they are right across the street from Wash U, like literally across the street, I believe.
So Fontbonne and Wash U, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, here we have North Central. Not that North Central. This is the North Central Minnesota Rams.
Yep, out of the UMAC Conference in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Not the Illinois North Central, it's the Minnesota North Central.
Next up is the McDaniel Green Terror. Great name.
Yeah, pretty good name. They are out of the Centennial Conference in Westminster, Maryland. I think that's like northern Maryland. A little bit struggling in conference last year, 4-14 record.
Next up, the Dickinson Red Devils.
Dickinson also in the Centennial Conference, Carlisle, PA. I mentioned the 4-14 record for McDaniel. Dickinson also had a 4-14 record. Same conference, same record, back-to-back cards.
All right, here we go. Back into our region here with the Worcester Fighting Scots.
Yeah, Worcester in the NCAC conference in Worcester, Ohio. They were in the NCAC tournament final last year. Unfortunately, lost to Wabash just like a week or two after that dramatic win over Wabash in the regular season, but could not quite pull out that Pool A win there.
All right, next up we have the Southern Maine Huskies.
Southern Maine, Little East Conference, the LEC out in Gorham, Maine.
All right, Matt, the final card for today, the DePaul Tigers.
Yeah, DePaul Tigers, Greencastle, Indiana in the NCAC conference. DePaul is where Brad Stevens played basketball, Zach.
I've heard something about that.
Yeah. We tried to rifle through them a little faster this week. Zach told me after last time that 42 minutes was too slow to go through packs, so we tried to keep it a little snappier, keep you engaged. Hopefully you found the pace a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, let us know if you enjoyed the pace in the comments below. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't joined us as a subscriber here on YouTube, we would love to have you click that subscribe button. And also, as a reminder, we mentioned at the top for our Spotify listeners that they maybe wanted to view this one on YouTube, but we are publishing to Spotify as well. So if you use Spotify or some other podcast apps, search us on there. You are likely to find us. You can subscribe and leave a rating there.
Subscribe, and until next time, good job, team.